What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our week 4. This is actually week 5, isn't it? Yeah, it's week 5. My bad. Let me just fix that really quickly. But we're bringing you the week 5 team builder here, taking on Joey and the Los Angeles Nidokings. Um, his team consists of Kieran Black, Ferrothorn, Moltres, Galarian Weezing, Hitmonlee, Tauros, Megabeedrill, Melodic Necrozma, Aerodactyl, and Raichu. The only restriction on Kieran Black is that it's not allowed to run Dragon Dance, so it does have access to Icicle Spear and Freeze Dry. Priority options, he's got the Hitmonlee with Mach Punch, Fake Out, and Sucker Punch, and the Raichu with Fake Out. Hazard setting, he's got the Ferrothorn with Rocks and Spikes. Weezing, Galarian Weezing with Toxic Spikes. Mega Beedrill with Toxic Spikes. Necrozma with Rocks, and Aerodactyl with Rocks. Removal options, he's got the Moltres with Defog, Galarian Weezing with Defog, Beedrill with Defog, Hitmonlee with Rapid Spin, and Aerodactyl with Defog. 4 times weaknesses, Ferrothorn to Fire and Moltres to Rock. His team does have a fairly significant rock weakness. There are 2 resists. One of them is a Hitmonlee, and one of them is a my god, where am I going with this? Holy cow. Ferrothorn. There we go. I don't actually have a rock type on my team, but something like a Terrakion would just tear this team apart by just spamming Stone Edge, which is really, really cool. But I'm running a lot of rock coverage because of how rock weak this team is, and also not running Stealth Rocks, which is odd, but there you go. I had to make room for another move, so I'm not running Rocks this week. I mentioned last week that I made transactions that are effective this week. I dropped Chestnut for Lucario and Venomoth for Quillfish. So I kind of upgraded speed a little bit. I kept the spikes. I kept the spikes and the toxic spikes, I should say. I dropped a defogger, which is really not that big of a deal, and I picked up more offense with the Lucario. I felt like my fighting type, like Chestnut as a fighting type, was okay defensively, of course, but it was mainly there was a defensive grass, and Lucario just sort of does more for a team. Like, I really feel like this team needs an offensive fighting. I'm having a hard time forcing Mega Gardevoir onto teams, and being able to break dark types I think was actually quite a big part of Mega Gardevoir's job, and it's not really been able to do that this season. So it's kind of the idea behind just being able to break darks. Now, this team doesn't have a dark, so it's actually really weak to a stored power set of some kind, but I don't have the ability to do that in this game. But yeah, I think Lucario just punches holes a lot better than Chestnut ever would. Gives me priority options, which you'll see in the team builder here, that I think are actually really important to help out Darkrai. Darkrai gets picked off really easily by Scarfers, and I have a huge gap between Cinderace and Mega Gardevoir, but realistically, it's between Cinderace and like Speedy Gliscor, or now Cinderace and Lucario, where Scarfers can slide in, and they outspeed a lot of my team, or they'll outspeed things like Darkrai and Cinderace, which I've tended to not want to run Scarf, because both of them lose a lot of power output by running them Scarf. So that's kind of the idea behind those changes. I wanted a Spiker still, so I picked up the Quillfish, and I still wanted to Ground and Poison, and Quillfish was still, like, it was just the best of all the worlds in that scenario. So yeah, now let's talk about what I'm expecting and not expecting. The only things I'm not really expecting from him are Aerodactyl and Raichu. I think Raichu doesn't make any sense against double ground. I know it does get like Nasty Plot Surf and stuff like that, but he's going to get outsped by Cinderace and Darkrai and just blown back by both, so it doesn't really make any sense for him to bring those. And then Aerodactyl, I think, just doesn't look as good as the other Mons on his team. For example, I think Melodic has to come as a Cinderace check, or Moltres, or both. I think both are coming. I think Ferrothorn's coming, Kieran Black, Mega Beedrill, Necrozma, which he's just been cheesing with weakness policy all season, and then probably Galarian Weezing. So if I had to guess, it's like Kieran Black, Ferrothorn, Moltres, Mega Beedrill, Melodic, Necrozma, and you could swap out one of Melodic and Moltres for Galarian Weezing probably, and that's likely what the team will look like, if I had to guess. I think Hitmonlee and Tauros both have roles in this game, but they both probably don't come. In terms of actual dark resists, like I said, it's well, I didn't say this actually, but it's Galarian Weezing and Hitmonlee, so those are both weak to Psychic, so the coverage on Darkrai is really easy this week. But let's start with my team. I'm running Quillfish here first with Spikes, Pain Split, Destiny Bond, and Poison Jab. So I wanted this to be my primary response to Kieran Black. I'm just going to drop to Freeze Dries if I'm being completely honest, but um, I can at least get an Intimidate off, and then I have other answers to a Freeze Dry. In theory, things like Lucario, things like that. We can sort of scout the set and go from there. I wanted Rocks this week, but I didn't have the move slot on Gliscor. I needed to drop it for something else, so we're running Mono Spikes, which won't really be able to pressure the Moltres, although I'm imagining that the Moltres would be heavy-duty boots against my team anyways. I do have some decent rockers, so I can't imagine that the rocks would even be relevant when I don't have great knockoff users. So Spikes will be enough. Pain Split is just to get some recovery back. Poison Jab is, in theory, to break a sub of a Kieran Black. If it starts getting out of hand with subs, then I'm in a bad spot. And Destiny Bond is just to take something down with me, honestly. If I can, like, waste a turn by Destiny Bonding on, I don't know, Beedrill or something like that, then I either take it down or I get a free turn to set up another Spike, which would be potentially helpful. And that's the whole idea behind Coolfish. That's literally it. Lucario, I wanted to highlight the new mons first, so normally I do like defensive mons and then offensive mons, but we're bringing Banded Lucario with Meteor Mash, Close Combat, Bullet Punch, and Rock Slide. And I'm running Inner Focus, and let's talk about the abilities really quickly here. So Steadfast, Justified, and Inner Focus are the options. Justified you really want if there's like a threatening Dark type, but like I said, there's no Dark type on this team, and not a lot of these mons really run Dark coverage. It's pretty much just Beedrill that runs Knockoff, and I'm not entirely sure that I would ever want my band knocked off anyways. Or like Hitmonlee running knockoff, right? Like I don't think I would want my band knocked off of Lucario. And there are a few fake out users, so I decided to go with Inner Focus instead, as well as potential for an Intimidate Tauros. So Inner Focus now is immune to Intimidate. So I chose Inner Focus. You know, if I flinched, my speed was raised by 1 stage. I didn't feel like that was as good as just being able to kill something the turn it clicks Fake Out, because I don't really think that I need the +1 speed on Lucario. In most scenarios where I'm hitting things faster than me, I'm either going to be able to tank a hit and kill them, or I'm going to be picking them off with Bullet Punch later. So the things that are faster are Raichu, Tauros, Kieran Black, Mega Beedrill, and Aerodactyl. Kieran Black and Aerodactyl are both weak to Bullet Punch, and Bullet Punch is going to do more damage than anything like Extreme. I thought about running Extreme Speed, but Bullet Punch with the stab bonus is almost as strong as Extreme Speed against the non-resists, which are Tauros and Beedrill. And so the only thing I would run Extreme Speed for really is like Raichu. But Bullet Punch is going to be better against Kieran Black and Aerodactyl than Extreme Speed would be, especially because Extreme Speed's a resist by the Aerodactyl. So I don't really think I'm going to be clicking Bullet Punch that much, but if I am in a position where I have to click Banded Bullet Punch at the end of the game or something, it's just better here than Extreme Speed. Meteor Mash is only there to hit the Necrozma. It's almost exclusively only there to hit the Necrozma, but it can also hit Weezing. I had Crunch on here and then swapped it out to Rock Slide because I needed something to hit Moltres. So Rock Slide's there for the Moltres, and then Close Combat just dumpsters the rest of the team. Yeah, Banded Lucario is really strong here, so that is why we're running that. We're running max speed to speed tie with Moltres. Gliscor, especially defensive Gliscor. This is my Moltres answer. If it's offensive Moltres, I should also be able to take on Raichu, and I should also be able to take on the Necrozma. Toxic Orb, Poison Heal, of course. I don't want to get my Necrozma also gets knockoff. There we go. That's where I was going back to. But I don't want to get the Toxic Orb knocked off. It got knocked off last week. Gliscor just has not been... Like, I've been positioning my Gliscor really poorly. I've been playing lead matchups really badly and making obvious predictions. So I think I'm going to start changing up my playstyle a little bit with that. But I had Rocks instead of Rock Slide, and then I changed it out to hit the Moltres because this is going to wall Moltres, so I want something to hit it. Roost, U-turn, Earthquake. So I'm just like bulky, but all attacking. So nothing is going to like sit up on me or anything like that. I'm just going to be able to attack. I don't have anything to hit the Ferrothorn, but I should just be able to U-turn out on it into Cinderace and should be fine there. I need to make sure that I get my Toxic Orb up safely on something and then just U-turn out on a bunch of stuff. I'm running a tiny bit of speed to speed creep anything that's creeping my Ferrothorn. Or my Gliscor, I mean. 36 speed is a lot of investment, so I can't imagine that anyone is going to creep that high, especially Joey, but that's what I've got going on there. And I got like almost max Spadef and a Toxicorp friendly HP stat for the Gliscor. Cinderace, I'm running Boots Cinderace again with Court Change this time, U-Turn, Powerball, and Taunt. I actually would have won last week if I had kept Court Change on the set, but I swapped it out almost last second, like the day before. So pretty much running mono Powerball here. I mean, U-Turn does some stuff, but Powerball is mainly there just to threaten out a Ferrothorn, and Taunt prevents a lot of stuff from actually doing stuff. So hopefully I can catch like Melodic switching in, taunt it, and then U-Turn out, forcing it to click Scald or something, which brings in my Quillfish, and then I can get up layers of spikes on that, which might be pretty helpful. Or I can bring in Vikavolt or something and then go from there. Or I don't taunt and then I chip it down enough to get Vikavolt in, which Vikavolt is definitely the win condition in this game. The only requirement that it has is basically Ferrothorn dead and Kyurem Black chipped. That should be all that I need to just win outright with Vikavolt. So that's where I'm going. That's what I'm going for. I'm aggressively creeping. This is Lux's suggestion to creep him creeping Gardevoir. So Gardevoir hits 330. A lot of Pokemon can't hit 351, so 331, so they hit 332. And so I'm going above that, basically. I'm creeping the creep and hitting 334. This is the identical speed to Darkrai, so I'm not going to explain what Darkrai's speed is for, because it's the same as Cinderace. Creeping, the base 110s creeping Gardevoir. That's all there is to it. Because Tauros and Raichu wouldn't run max speed. So I've been pretty conservative with my speed creeping in the past, but this is a very liberal speed creep that I'm going with here. Max Tech Adamant. Get off those fat Powerballs. I'm not one to run Powerball usually, but it's the best move to hit the Ferrothorn here. And then obviously Heavy Duty Boots, so I don't take hazard damage. And I can just Court Change them back. If I really have to, I can just swap his own rocks back on himself, right? So I'm not that fussed about getting up spikes with Quillfish. It's more important that I would Court Change his hazards back on him, if that's going to be the case. Darkrai, I'm running Specs Darkrai. Modest, again, I explained the speed already. Dark Pulse and Psychic is all that I need for this entire team. Modest Dark Pulse is a roll to two-shot, like, reasonably Spadef Melodic. And it should, that's like the most specially bulky thing on this team. So Specs Dark Pulse should obliterate anything not named Galarian Weezing or Hitmonlee, which Psychic does obliterate. So Hitmonlee's Spadef is actually okay. Its defense is terrible, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing that right, and it's not the other way around. So Psychic should be able to deal a hefty amount of damage to it. I have Trick there just in case I really want to get rid of my Specs, or in case my Specs get knocked off and I want to take the item of something else. And then Thunderbolt is just sort of a backup plan for the Melodic. If it's really Spadef, I don't anticipate it to be, because I think it's probably the better Cinderace check between Moltres and Melodic, but that is just my opinion. It could go either way. I do think one of them is going to be the Cinderace check. One of them has to be the Cinderace check, honestly. So it's really up to him how he wants to handle that. So anyways, that's Darkrai. Specs just obliterates this whole roster with Dark Pulse. So I'm just trying to get kills with Darkrai. It's been not good for me so far, but I also have been playing very poorly. And then last but not least is the win condition for sure. Life Orb Vikavolt, I am creeping... Oh my god. I was creeping anything creeping Darkrai at +2, and then I lowered it to be the same. So I'm still creeping that, but basically I'm hitting 386 with this. Darkrai hits 383, so anything like Mega Beedrill or Aerodactyl creeping Darkrai 384, I'll outspeed those with Agility Vikavolt. Max Special Attack, I basically just roast this team with Thunderbolt Bug Buzz, but Ferrothorn and Kyurem Black need to be a little bit chipped. Life Orb isn't quite enough damage to be able to beat both of them. Everything else, Bug Buzz or Bug Buzz Thunderbolt will just obliterate. So I'm feeling really good about this Vikavolt. especially with Roost to Roost off Life Orb recoil. On certain passive mons, I can do that really easily against like Melodic. Um, but I do have to be worried about phasing. I guess I'm not that worried about phasing, because in the end, I can pretty much get agility up against most of those things. So, in the end, Quillfish is basically the Mega Beedrill and Kieran Black check. Gliscor is the Moltres check and Raichu check. And then everything else is pretty much defensive. So I'm just kind of trying to bash his face in a little bit with some choice users, a Life Orb user, and more of a supportive Cinderace. But this matchup doesn't look great to me on paper. I don't have good Mega Beedrill or Kieran Black answers, especially Kieran Black. I just, like, all he needs really is Icicle Spear and Fusion Bolt, and he just, like, demolishes my whole team. So I am pretty worried about that. And Mega Beedrill, just my team doesn't handle physical attackers all that well. It handled it a little bit better with Chestnut, but this matchup in particular, Chestnut would not be any more beneficial than Lucario. So, and that's the theme for the rest of the season. Pretty much, Chestnut is not better than Lucario except for one matchup, and I didn't feel like it was worth keeping around a semi-worthless Mon for all of those matchups when I could not be using that. In terms of what I'm not bringing, Empoleon is not fantastic, but it's also not terrible. It doesn't really do anything in this game. Like, it could be like a Roar Mon for like Shuka Roar or something for Necrozma, and it could be a Rocker, but it's also weak to a few things. It picks on some things, but is weak to others. Golurk, same sort of deal, but it's just a little bit too slow this week. It can break like Ferrothorn reasonably well, and it can break Necrozma reasonably well, but it loses to other fat stuff like Melodic and Moltres really easily. Mega Gardevoir does not really have the best matchup against Mega Beedrill pretty much ever. Outside of that, it's not bad. Mega Gardevoir is definitely usable in this game, but Mega Beedrill is definitely coming. So I don't want to just be able to give Mega Beedrill a free kill every single time it comes in. Even though I already am, I'd like to not have to do that with Mega Gardevoir when Vikavolt could outspeed it. Dracozolt has a pretty decent matchup besides the Ferrothorn. I do think Ferrothorn will be physically defensive to handle the Dracozolt. It doesn't really make sense for it to be Spidef anyways, because Gardevoir gets Mystical Fire now, so there's no real reason for it to be Spidef when it's the Dracozolt and potentially Golurk checks. And then Regice is not. It's not going to cut it in this one. It can't break through Ferrothorn. It's pretty much fodder for Kieran Black and Mega Beedrill. It's fodder for Necrozma. I've got a reasonably well-rounded team now, but Regice is just... I might try and ship Regice out with my last transaction. I'm not really sure what I would go for with that, but I do need to think about what I want to do with my last change, if anything, because it's just... Yeah, the team has not been good, and we'll sort of see after week 6 how I feel. If I'm 1-5 after week 6, or if I'm 3-3 after week 6, that makes a big difference in how I'm gonna look at my team, because I do still want to make playoffs, and I want to make a run at quarterfinals at the very least. So if I'm 1-5, I need to make some more drastic changes than if I'm 3-3 and I can reasonably get to a playoff spot much easier by winning half my games than having to win all of my games at the halfway point of the season. So anyways, that's the team for Joey and the Los Angeles Nidokings. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and I'll catch you guys for the match.